Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lemon Live. Hello, Lemon Nation. I'm so glad that you're here today. We have a jam-packed show, which includes some breaking news. We're going to talk about a lot of things that have to do with the current president. And as a matter of fact, the former president. We're also going to talk about some things that have to do with the WNBA and specifically Caitlyn Clark and Jamele Hill, my friend, who is a fantastic broad-minded and very smart, not only political commentator, but a sports commentator as well. She's going to join us. But here is the deal. This is historic breaking news because just a few hours ago, Hunter Biden became the first child of a sitting president to be convicted of a crime after a federal jury found him guilty of 3 felony counts related to lying about his drug use in order to purchase a gun. The first presidential child of a sitting president to be convicted of a crime after a federal jury, I should say, found him guilty of 3 felony counts related to lying about his drug use in order to purchase a gun. Hunter Biden now faces a lot of time in prison. He faces up to 25 years behind bars if the judge so decides. But he has been found guilty on all counts. In just moments, Areva Martin, is a civil rights attorney, is going to join us in just a little bit to talk about all this. But here's the context behind this. And I want to know what you guys think in the comments, because listen, for the first time, we had a sitting president who has been found guilty on 34 counts. And now we have the son of a sitting president, a child of a sitting president for the first time being found guilty of a felony crime, a crime by after a federal grand jury found him guilty of 3 felony counts related to lying about his drug use in order to purchase a gun. Here's the context. 6 men, 6 women deliberated for merely 3 hours before delivering their verdict. The process was so swift that many members of the Biden family who had arrived at the courthouse this morning to support Hunter and subsequently left to get lunch, they were unable to return in time for this. The First Lady, Jill Biden, was unable to be in the room with Hunter when the verdict was read. Now, again, the first son faces 25 years behind bars, though a lighter sentence is much more likely since he has no prior convictions. He has no prior convictions, but he does have issues as it relates to drug use. That has all been documented. The reason, obviously, for the trial, it's been documented so well, it's on videotape or on tape on his computer, memorialized in his computer, using drugs, showing the crack cocaine that he's used. He and his family have admitted many times that he has a drug issue, obviously, and that the first family saying that they were concerned about him, but Hunter Biden himself in interviews admitting that he is a drug problem and also apologizing for it. Abby Lowell was the attorney for Hunter Biden, extremely well-respected attorney. He is considered one of the foremost white-collar defense and trial lawyers in the country. And it's interesting because Abby Lowell lost his case. Very rarely does Abby Lowell lose cases. So we have Hunter Biden now. I want to know what you guys think, because it's fascinating to me that this would happen. And obviously, if Hunter Biden is guilty of this crime, if he has those issues, then Hunter Biden should face the music. Hunter Biden should do whatever has to be done because he committed a crime. Unlike the Republicans who, will say that Donald Trump is a setup and that he is being treated unfairly. He's getting special treatment, but not in the good way, not the treatment that they would want for him. He's getting special treatment and they want him to, not be prosecuted at all. So here's a question, we have a poll up. Here's a question in our survey as more people start to tune in. Were you surprised by the jury's verdict as it relates to Hunter Biden being found guilty on 3 felony counts related to lying about drug use in order to purchase a gun? So far, most people say that they're not too surprised. 37% of the folks who have voted say it, 38% now, and it continues to go up, saying that they are not too surprised, a little surprised, 17% or 18% now, but very surprised, say 12%, not surprised at all, 31%. So most people are not surprised because, as we know, Hunter Biden is a troubled figure, admittedly so. And he has been found in the eyes of a jury of his peers, of 12 citizens of the United States, and they say that Hunter Biden is guilty of this crime. How many people lie about, using drugs when they are applying for a gun? Mm, Probably a lot, but Hunter Biden was caught doing it. So that shouldn't make him any different than any other citizen in this country. So, because of some of these, you may recall last summer that Hunter Biden was in court prepared to plead guilty to misdemeanor tax offenses, and that plea deal would have granted him immunity in this gun charge case, but that deal fell apart, and we want to figure out how that transpired. I'm not sure exactly how that deal fell apart, but it did, and I remember when it did, because they were Hunter Biden obviously hoping that he would be granted immunity. Now, as you can imagine, Republicans are going to pounce on this. And listen, it wouldn't be surprised. You shouldn't be surprised that they're pouncing on this. What Hunter Biden did was not good. And he is guilty in the eyes of the law. And you guys are continuing to vote on this. And it hasn't changed much. 39% say not too surprised. 30% say not surprised at all. I want to hear what you guys have to say, though, specifically about this, because this is a very, very important case. So thank you, Elimination. You guys are saying hello. He got the OJ, meaning Hunter was found guilty for being a Biden. Well, I don't know if he was found guilty for being a Biden. 5 easy questions. He was found guilty because he committed a crime. And does it make a difference that he is the president's son? Yeah, it makes a huge difference when you consider that it has never happened before, when you consider this sort of behavior from the son or the child of a sitting president. But I don't think Hunter Biden is being treated any differently than any other citizen. He is the one that memorialized this on his laptop. He's the one who left the laptop with a computer person to a computer repair person who then turned it over to authorities. He's the one that did that. And so that's how they figured out his drug use. Now, I would imagine for him being in any sort of, abuse or alcohol anonymous or any sort of drug rehabilitation, they would not tell the information to authorities. I would imagine that information came from the owner of the computer repair place and the people who turned the computer over to authorities. And so, how many felonies? It's not 34 like Trump, right? Well, disco ball glitter, it's not 34 like Trump. Hunter Biden is not the president or the former president or the future president. For a matter of fact, I don't think he'll ever be president. But do the counts matter? He has been found guilty. Nancy says Hunter Biden should get a second example of following the law and accepting the consequences. Listen, I think Hunter Biden is going to accept the consequences. He has. I think he's admitted, he said as much. I don't think that there is a double standard among the Bidens as there are with the Trumps as to, Hunter Biden being persecuted or unfairly prosecuted or treated any differently, or that they were after him. No one is saying that in the Biden family, and I have not heard any Democrats say that. So 88 says, I'm still voting for Joe Biden. And to what degree will Hunter's legal troubles affect the presidential race, says Kenneth Brooks? Well, I think anything, Kenneth, at this point is going to affect the election and the race, because, as I said, Republicans are going to pounce on this as well. They should. Anyone would. Now, listen, I don't think that they should be obviously making fun of someone who has an addiction. But as far as them pouncing on this, of course they're going to pounce on it. That's what you do in politics. That's what's to be expected. They pounced on Fani Willis. Fani Willis made a self-inflicted mistake, a self-inflicted wound by having a relationship with someone who worked really for her, someone she hired in a high-profile case. Hunter Biden made a mistake and mistakes by lying on a gun application that he just one question. Are you using drugs? Are you under the influence of, or have you ever been under the influence of illicit drugs? He lied about it. That is the entire reason that you have rules for guns. I know that, especially liberals, especially Democrats, they want stricter gun enforcement, gun rules. And Hunter Biden broke one of those rules that is supposed to keep people who should not have firearms, keep the firearms out of the hands of people who should not have them. So listen, this is the special prosecutor, David Weiss, talking about the verdict. Let's listen to it.
While there has been much testimony about the defendant's abuse of drugs and alcohol, ultimately, this case was not just about addiction, a disease that haunts families across the United States, including Hunter Biden's family. This case was about the illegal choices defendant made while in the throes of addiction, his choice to lie on a government form when he bought a gun, and the choice to then possess that gun. It was these choices and the combination of guns and drugs that made his conduct dangerous. Second, no one in this country is above the law. Everyone must be accountable for their actions, even this defendant. However, Hunter Biden should be no more accountable than any other citizen convicted of this same conduct.
So, the prosecutor there saying exactly what I said, that it was Hunter Biden is not getting any special treatment. That was David Weiss, a special prosecutor there, saying he should not get any special treatment, and he shouldn't. And I know that some of you are upset because you think that Hunter Biden, that he was being targeted, but this is Hunter Biden's fault. I have to say it's Hunter Biden's fault, because he did this to himself. He's the one who chose to do this. So now we're going to see whether he gets 25 years behind bars. Do you think he should get 25 years? I don't know. I don't know if he should get 25 years, but I do know that I do believe that they are not going to treat him in any special way. I believe that they're going to make an example of him. I think that because of what's happening in New York, because of the cases with Donald Trump, I think that they are going to make an example of Hunter Biden. And I don't know if that's a bad idea, honestly, because as they say, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. We've always been saying that you have to have the same rules for yourself as you have for everybody else. You have to have the same rules. It seems excessive, says James Bull. I don't think it seems excessive, James. Why do you say that? Those are the rules. He lied about drug use. Now, imagine if he had used that gun. This did not happen. But imagine the people who are on drugs, who use drugs, or who lie about it, and then they get caught. Or I shouldn't say they get caught, but they end up shooting someone. They end up hurting someone. They end up hurting themselves. So I can't agree with you guys on that it is excessive. Dennis is saying that Trump, he says Dump should get 25 years. I understand you guys are talking about Donald Trump. This isn't about Donald Trump, though. This is about Hunter Biden. Donald Trump will face the consequences that Donald Trump is going to face, and he should. That's separate from Hunter Biden. We have to stop really, obfuscating or trying to shift the focus onto something else, because this is about Hunter Biden. Now, do I feel bad for the family? Yes, it's awful. Do I feel bad for Hunter? Yes, because he has an addiction. But do I feel bad about him breaking the law? No. If you break the law, then you have to do what everyone else has to do. Just because his dad is the president, his dad is a Democrat, you may want his dad to win again, That doesn't mean he should be treated differently. Dan Sabo says apples and oranges. Explain to me what you mean by that, Dan Sabo, apples and oranges. What do you mean by that? That's what I want to know. Why is it different? We have other news to talk about. And I'm going to talk to Jamele Hill. She's going to join us in a little bit as we watch this, what happens with Hunter Biden. But again, it is shocking that we have the son of a sitting president now found guilty, of these charges. It's really unbelievable. Everyone was wondering when Hunter Biden was going to face the music, when it was going to catch up to him, because it seems that he had skated for so long after seeing the pictures from the laptop. And all the egregious behavior. Now, just from the pictures of the laptop, just because you have someone using drugs, there's no evidence that you don't see them, you don't have them, right? Just from pictures on your phone, I'm not sure if that's prosecutable, but I think they went in and found something, and they used the law in order to prosecute him. And this is where we are. Producers, let me know when Jamele has joined us so that I can bring her in to discuss this. Because beyond politics, there's so much going on beyond the presidential election, beyond what's happening which has happened in New York. The former president meeting, talking about his probation on Monday. Can you believe that? And Hunter Biden is going to have to do the same thing. As they wait for sentencing, everybody has to talk about their probation. Have you had a criminal past? What kind of people you hang out with? So on and so forth. That's what's happening in our country. A lot of people being prosecuted for things that we would never have thought. A lot of people who we would not have thought would ever be prosecuted are being prosecuted now. I should see it. Let's say at least two. Well, no, not at least two. A lot of people. Look at all the people surrounding the former president who have been prosecuted for crimes, who have spent time in prison. He cannot hang out with any of those people. It's a rogues gallery of people that he will no longer be able to associate with while he is on probation. People who served in his administration, from chiefs of staff to campaign managers, chiefs of staff who are involved in this, to campaign managers and other tawdry individuals who have been associated with the former president. And the same will be said for Hunter Biden. He's going to not be able to hang out, associate with certain people, whether he has remorse, or if the judge feels that he has remorse, that's going to play into it. I'm sure the judge in Donald Trump's case feels and knows there's no remorse. So I think the sentences will be different. At least they should be different. But I truly believe that they are going to make an example of Hunter Biden. And Hunter Biden is not going to get off lightly, as people may have thought or suggested. And I think a big reason for that is because of what happened to Donald Trump, because everyone is going to be watching and saying, why is Donald Trump getting a harsher sentence than Hunter Biden? And then Democrats, of course, are going to say, why is Hunter Biden getting a harsher sentence than Donald Trump, when Hunter Biden has only been found guilty on 3 counts and Donald Trump has been found guilty on 34 counts? Now, let me tell you, there may be a good reason for that. And that's because one is not the former president. It is not as tough to put Hunter Biden in a facility, a prison, or a jail. Doesn't have to have Secret Service. They may want to have some protection for him since he's the son of a sitting president. He may not, as a matter of fact, go into, as they say, general population, or he may go into, obviously, one of those white collar facilities. similar to what Michael Cohen did. Probably won't go and serve into, a maximum security prison, obviously, because he's not a threat to people. Donald Trump, I don't know. I doubt that Donald Trump will ever see the inside of a prison. He might, if the judge decides to make an example of him. That's what will happen. So I want to know what you guys have to say as we continue to talk about this, because I know that some of you may be upset. What should Hunter Biden's sentence be? What should be Hunter Biden's sentence? That's the poll we have up. I want to know, but I want a few more people to weigh in before I do that. So Suzanne Wilkes says Hunter would be endangered in prison more than Trump. I don't know about that. So I think I don't think that he would be more dangerous or more in danger, because Donald Trump knows state secrets. He knows really the world's secrets. And so it would be tough to actually say that. Okay. So we're going to move on now. And I want to bring in someone who I love and admire. And that is none other than the Jamele Hill. She is my second partner of the day. She is a contributing writer for The Atlantic and the host of Jamele Hill Unbothered podcast, and the co-founder of Lodge Freeway Media. Jamele, how you doing today, my friend?
It is great to see you, Don. I feel like it's been too long. I've missed my share of Don Lemon foolishness every day in my life. So I'm just very excited to be here and to chat with you.
Let me tell you something, Jamele. I went to the White House last night for Juneteenth. I could barely make it to the seats where people, I love my people. They're like, Don. One person asked for a selfie, which means I'd literally hundreds. I was just standing there in one spot. I couldn't eat. I couldn't have Hennessy sponsored it. I couldn't even have my little Hennessy and champagne. And I couldn't even make it to the front. I wanted to sit up in the front so I would get a good view of the president and the first lady and the vice president, and Miss Patty and Billy Porter, who was always doing the most, Billy Porter. But I couldn't make it up there. And Areva Martin was supposed to join me just moments ago. We talked about something that you and I are not going to talk about. She's a legal expert, you're not. But Areva was there yesterday as well. And I sat like 2 seats over from her finally when I could get there. But my people were like, I miss you. I miss you on the CNN, and I miss you. Who was it that said, it was Ben Jealous. Said, I miss you holding people's feet to the fire. Nobody does it like you. And it was a real compliment.
Well, good. I mean, I hope you know and I know the weird transition sometimes when you leave a legacy network, as I left ESPN, is that you move on, you do your own thing as you're doing now. You're still connecting with people, and people are like, oh, I miss you and this and that. It's like, well, we don't have to miss you. We know where you are. Yeah. And so I think that it's important that we support you with all the new things that you're doing now. But there are certain moments, and that me and my friends, we have texted and been like, damn, if Don was on the show right now. Like when all the nonsense is really happening, we're like, whoa, we know Don right now, what that might look like.
The Tim Scott moments we could have had.
But see.
Again, the Byron Donalds moments we could have had.
Byron Donald moments. All of this. I mean, it's just so much. But that should let you know just what a staple you became for a lot of people and just how well you resonated. So it is ultimately, a very big compliment to you. And I will say, as a side note, you mentioned being in the White House, and the fact that Hennessy was a sponsor. I'm gonna just leave that alone. But
I know.
Just leave that alone. It's okay. I get it,
All they needed was a Cavassier to be the co-sponsor. But
I have actually drank Hennessy in the White House, so I understand. Yes, during Obama's presidency, how he had the holiday parties or whatever. So I was invited in back-to-back years.
Yeah.
And the last year, because it was obviously going to be his last year in office. They had Hennessy, and I was like, if I don't do this for the culture right now, who am I? So
for the Christmas party?
Yes, I drank.
Oh wait, I was there. I didn't drink Hennessy,
yes,
though.
you were there. Oh, Don, like me and my former co-host Michael Smith, we had a whole moment where I still have it on video, us drinking Hennessy in the White House. Like, people don't know. This is a Black History moment right now.
I remember going through you go to the line and through the line and you take pictures with the Obamas or take pictures with the president and the first lady, or the first family. And I just remember Mrs. Obama looking at me. You know, the President Obama goes, "Oh, hey, Don," you know, his thing. And I said, "Hey, whatever." And then he shook my hand, and then Mrs. Obama gave me a hug, and she said, "Go save us." And I said,
Wait,
I was like,
she
wait a
said that
minute.
to
Me?
you?
Yes, I swear she did. I swear she said, "Go save us." I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Y'all are, y'all save us.
Well,
Y'all
I
are
had
president and the first lady.
when I was in that last year, and this is the year before was when I had the moment, because that's when I realized the president knew who I was, and I didn't know that, because sports, as you know, is a big passion of his, and so he watched ESPN all the time. That was his way of decompressing, and so he watched our show, and then he admitted that he watched it, and the first lady was just like, "Oh, you just hold your own so well on these sports shows with these men and this and that." So when I came back the next year, she hugged me, and I was just like, what are we gonna do now? Like, y'all can't stay. And she just laughed, and I'm like, no, I'm actually serious. Like, what really are we gonna do now? So I did the opposite reaction. I was looking for her to save us. I didn't realize you were supposed to be the one. Otherwise, I would have
You would have
hugged you
told
much
me.
tighter. I would have told
But,
you that.
but her comment always to me was, because I knew her from Chicago for years, was, "You stay out of trouble. Are you in trouble again?" She's always, because I always get in trouble. I have a big mouth. My big mouth always gets me in trouble. But you know what? I don't care. That's what I'm here for. But she would always say, "Stay out of trouble," or basically, then, "Boy, why you always be in trouble?" That's basically what she was saying. Let's talk about this though, because we were talking about.
Okay.
I said, "Oh, the Byron Donalds moments. Oh, the Tim Scott
Tim
moments we would have
Scott's,
had."
yeah.
So let's talk about the topics that I want to talk to you about. Donald Trump making gains with Black and brown voters, your comments about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson declining to endorse Joe Biden, and then the far right freak out over your remarks about the WNBA, Caitlyn Clark, and then Angel Reese. So let's play. I want to play first. Let's play the Byron Donalds soundbite, please.
You see, during Jim Crow, the Black family was together. That's right. During Jim Crow, more Black people were not just conservative, because Black people always have been conservative-minded, but more Black people voted conservatively. And then HEW, Lyndon Johnson, and then you go down that road, and now we are where we are. What's happened in the
Okay. Jamel, there's a whole lot here, because look, some of that is true about, at least for the voting, I shouldn't say voting conservatively, voted for the Republican Party, but the Republican Party did a 180.
Yes.
And so that's not the Republican Party of today. So he's conflicted on a whole bunch of levels, but I'll let you go.
Well, and to your point, he's conveniently leaving out the fact that what the Republican Party stood for was more closely aligned with what would be a Black agenda. Because you had Ida B. Wells, because you had Frederick Douglass, who were Republicans, because you had some very noteworthy Black Americans who were Republican, they were supporting policies that were very beneficial to Black America. That is not what the party looks like today. And it's funny that he's talking about this togetherness and other things that were, in his mind, more prevalent in the Black community. I'm like, bro, you wouldn't even be married to your wife if we were under Jim Crow. So what are you talking about?
Joy Reid got him together on
disrespect.
that. Joy was like,
But she was right. She was like, why are we reminiscing about Jim Crow? Right? Jim Crow was a terrible, elongated period in our history where Black people face an amount of racial terror that can never properly be contextualized. And then he brings up the other part too, is that he brings up Lyndon B. Johnson. Oh, you mean the same Lyndon B. Johnson who signed the Civil Rights Act into law? That's when things went left, is when we got rights? Is that what you're saying? And so I just find him in general, a lot of his commentary to be not just untrustworthy, but to be very disingenuous, because we know why he's doing it. He's doing it just like him and Tim Scott and all of them that are aligning to kiss the boots of Trump to try to be vice president. And he doesn't realize that that's the very reason why people don't trust you, is that we know exactly what we're doing. And we can see this game plan, which is stupid, to try to convince, Black people, that you are worthy of our vote, or or the Republican Party is worthy of our vote, because of these misaligned principles that they have now. They're not. It's like, he is right in the sense that, as you know, Black people are a little more conservative than people give us credit for. What Black people don't like is racism.
Right.
And the Republican Party is very much in lockstep, very much tied to racism now, currently, in the moment. So that is the reason why more Black people aren't voting Republican.
Yeah, and listen, and the whole talk about DEI and oh well, the playing field is leveled, and that that it's somehow leading to some sort of mass discrimination or racism against white people.
Right?
It's Black people are not going to buy that, because we live in reality and we know what the real deal is. Now, the people who are working in education and and what you have to do in order to get into college. Listen, that is a whole nother show, right? Different universities, different colleges have their own rules and concepts or whatever it is for who they want to accept, and they place a premium on certain things. That's up to them. But to say that white people are at a disadvantage in America, let me rephrase that, because the saying, I had Sam Harris on, and what he said is that Black people were at an advantage in America if you were applying to universities and if you were applying to certain types of jobs. And I was just like, okay, Black people are not going to buy that, Jamele. We know better.
No, I mean, what would be these jobs, though? It's like, when you ask them for examples of this, they don't really have a whole lot of answers. It's just a feeling. And to be honest, the feeling is not even rooted in reality. The feeling is all rooted in accountability. They think, because it's, as we know throughout the history of our country, is that Black people were not often in a position to speak to what they were experiencing. We didn't have the microphones, we didn't have the voice, we didn't have the agency, we didn't have a lot of things. But now we do, and we have for a while. And what they really don't like is actually being held accountable for the things that they do. So they confuse accountability with being anti-white. It's like, no, we just want you to be accountable for a system that you created.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't create this system. Everything that we have done has been to mitigate the harm of that system, to respond to this system, to make our way around this system the best that we can. There is, unless we're talking about entertainment and only certain parts of it, or certain parts of sports, there is no place really where, in a powerful way, and even in those places where we're overrepresented, we're overrepresented as labor. We're not usually overrepresented as the people who are in charge. If you want to take the NBA, because they love to bring up the NBA and say, oh, so many Black NBA players is 80-90% Black, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, but who are the team owners? There's not one Black owner in the NBA at all. There has never been a Black NBA commissioner. What are you talking about? These are the people who are in charge that are setting the decisions. And so in no structural way in our American life are Black people as a mass or as an entity or a body in charge of anything.
Yeah. 100%. I agree with that. When you look at, as I said to Sam Harris, look at if you want to look at Fortune 500 companies, you can look at the CEOs of the country. If you look just in any, organization, not even a Fortune 500 company, you look at the managers and the people who are in charge of those companies, and it's usually not people of color. There are a few, don't get me wrong, we are making progress. I think when we talk about these issues, people think that that we believe that progress is not being made. That's not the case, but it is not to a point now where African Americans, as a whole, the population, and as a demographic in America, that we are at an advantage over the white population. It's just simply not true. It just doesn't bear out. So my question to you, Jamele, is there are people of color, well, obviously the guys who are around Donald Trump and who want to be his VP pick, i.e., Tim Scott, Byron Donalds, and who's a doctor, Ben Carson.
Ben Carson, yeah.
They're always trying to appeal to the racists and to the people who believe that, and they're proud of it. And it's like, wait, why are you proud of that? And why are you trying to appeal to that certain group of people? What's up with that?
So it is disturbing, but it's also in many ways not surprising. And this is what power does, as they say, power corrupts. And I think all of them and Black people know this, which is why they are outside of the cookout, as far outside as they are, is because we don't trust you, dog. Like, you're not going to be able to sit there and tell us that structural racism doesn't exist, that inequality doesn't exist. And as you mentioned, Don, we're living it every day. Tim Scott is literally going around talking about institutional racism doesn't exist. And I'm looking at Tim Scott like, you can't, to me, anybody who wants power that badly to deny reality that much is not worthy of the position that they're seeking. And you know, with all of them, and like I look at Ben Carson in particular. Ben Carson is from my hometown. He's from Detroit. And he, you know, he went to, I like to mess with my husband sometimes, like, Ben Carson went to your high school. That's funny. So, but, you know, Ben Carson being in the position that he is, you know, to be considered one of the foremost neurosurgeons in America and to have an incredible story in his own right, and to trade all that in to be on the ticket that he's on is not just unsatisfying, it's just unseemly.
Yeah.
And I don't know who's stupider, them for thinking we're by it, or the Republicans who put them in charge thinking that these three will be the ones that will be Moses leading all the Black people to the Republican Party. It's that lets me know right there how out of touch with reality that they actually are. I mean, for Black people, it's about policy. It's about what will help us as a community thrive and survive in a system of institutional racism. How can you mitigate that? If you're denying the very thing that has been on the boot of our necks for hundreds of years isn't even there, why would we ever trust you? And even, I know you're eventually going to lead this into a discussion about maybe Black and brown voters, more of them voting for Donald Trump. I got to be honest, I don't believe it. And I know with the polls, which I do not
answer my
believe
first
this.
question. Shoot.
I don't believe this. I do not.
You don't.
I'm calling.
You're calling
all the
bullshit.
BS.
You're calling BS.
I'm calling bullshit on this. And especially them trying to make Black men in particular to be the face of this movement of folks that are supposedly coming to the Republican Party. It's going to be two simple choices for Black folks, for Black and brown folks, I'll say in particular. The choice is vote for Joe Biden or stay home. The choice is not vote for Joe Biden or Donald Trump. It's either they're voting for Biden or they're staying home. And the staying home part is the more concerning part, frankly, because I think it's going to be hard if the turnout from 2020 has to be that here in 2024 for Joe Biden to win. I think I would be surprised if that happens. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see us turning out in the same way because of a lot of different factors that we can certainly get into.
Well, do I want to say this?
Uh-oh.
I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say
Uh-oh.
it. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it.
Not you, God. You ain't one to pull punches now.
No, I'm not going to say it because this is just my thing and I don't know if it matters. But look, someone in the comments said, Alberto Everett said, DJT isn't going to pick them, shaking my head. So I would, that's what I would be saying. He ain't going to pick you.
Right.
He might if he thinks he's going to get Black men, but I don't, Kenneth Brooks said, say it, Don. I don't know. Say it is free speech. I'll say it. Here's why I think that, and I'm not one of those people, Jamele, that a politician needs to inspire me with a big personality. That's why we're in trouble now with this cult of personality.
I'm not that person either.
So I'm not that person. I'm with the person who is putting policies into place that's going to help me, my family, my friends, my community, right? And I see the Biden administration doing that. Can they be better? Yes, they could always be better. I don't see the Donald Trump administration doing that. As a matter of fact, the only substantial piece of legislation that Donald Trump got through was a tax cut for the very wealthy, the rich. This administration has gotten so much done and so many policies gotten through the Congress and the Senate with an obstructionist Congress and Senate that it's unbelievable that they've been able to do it. So I'm prefacing what I'm going to say by that. I don't need to be inspired by that. So when I was there last night, I felt like the magic was not there. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you went to the White House back in the day? you
It
know,
was
during,
different.
oh
It
my
was very
gosh, it was
different.
like, wow. And you were like, oh, what's up, my sister? What's up, my brother? How are
Yes,
you?
it was like
Yay.
a family
It was like
reunion.
a
We were
family.
all,
Yes.
yeah, it was, it was.
Yeah.
And I've been to the VP's house a couple of times.
Yes.
I think the vibe was there. I was there for a women's sports event recently. That was great, and that definitely felt as close to what we probably experienced with Obama. But I was also in Detroit at the NAACP dinner that Joe Biden spoke at, and I mean, listen, some of this is generational too, because I think if you talking to the Meemaws and the uncles, they are with Joe Biden. Like they are with him.
The
Okay.
people there last night, the
1,000%.
demographic last night there were, you know, a lot of older people. And you're right. They are with him.
Yes.
They were like, Uncle Joe. They were like screaming for him
Yes.
to come out. So,
Totally.
yes. Yeah.
Because for them, it is excruciatingly important that he was the one to be Obama's vice president. And
Yeah.
as supportive as he was during that term, to see a white man in his position be that supportive of the first Black president, that's very
Mhm.
meaningful for Black people of a certain generation. Now, when you start getting to middle-aged, millennial, zillennial Black people, that's when things get a little more murky and things get a little bit more complicated.
They
I
don't
think,
dislike Biden. They don't
no, they
dislike
don't.
him. They like him. They're just not inspired by him. That's why I
They're
said
just
I
not
don't
inspired
need to
by him.
be inspired by that. And I think, you know, Obama has swagger. He was cool, you know.
Yeah,
And then that some of that coolness that it kind of rubbed off on Joe Biden, right? With the
it did.
aviators and what have you. So, but now, you know, he's still cool. I still like Uncle Joe. I don't get me wrong. I'm going to vote for him. I'm going to vote for
Mhm.
him. But you know, there was it wasn't the same. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I think too the mistake that we make is two things. Is that in this regard, Obama is actually underrated as a president. He was so special and so unique that he convinced people this should be the expectation, and it's not. He's a once in a generation politician. Once in a generation. We have not seen many like him throughout the pantheons of president ever.
Mhm.
So to expect that every single time, you're expecting too much. And it does get to the old adage that I'm sure you heard: Democrats fall in love, Republicans fall in line.
Yeah.
And what I need for us to do is stop looking for inspiration from Joe Biden, as you said, vote on policy, but also vote on strategy, because this
Hmm.
is really not about what happens this year or next year. This is about what happens in 2028. This is
Hmm.
about, and I know people have accused, myself and others, probably you, of being alarmist. This is about not letting somebody in there whose entire game plan is to completely tear down the Constitution.
Right.
And I know, because we survived the Trump presidency before, and survived, I mean, barely, because the effects of what he was able to do during that short period of time, we're paying for it now, both in what our taxes don't look like in terms of returns. Like that billionaire tax cut is hitting
Hmm.
people hard, and they don't know who to blame. And it's like, yeah, you blame him because he was the one that did it. What he did in the judiciary, we will
Yeah.
not get from up under that for decades, Don. And so I need people to understand that this is about how the country moves forward. This is not about Joe
Hmm.
Biden. This is about democracy, the
Right.
Constitution, and stability.
And that the first one was a test run. And you know, people will say, well, Donald Trump is going to be sitting around eating cheeseburgers. He's going to be on the golf course. He's going to come
No,
in
it's
late and
not.
nothing's going to happen.
Well,
No,
he
no,
is.
no, no, no. If you look at, he is, but if you look at Project 2025, right?
Correct.
The people around him, his government is going to be working without him having to do anything. They're going to be enacting the, terrible legislation that you're going to have no control over. They're going to be the judges who are on the appellate courts and who are, in the court system, i.e. Judge Cannon, right? They're going to be the ones who are really making the policies, and Donald Trump is just going to be sitting there going, I don't have anything else to do but sit around. Now, having said what you said, I don't need to be inspired, right? And I do like Joe Biden. And I was there last night. Joe Biden looked fine. He didn't look out of it like the Republicans like to make him, right-wing media likes to make him like, he's going to pass out at any second. But speaking of not being inspired, The Rock, I'm not sure that's what he's saying. You made some comments about it. I want to hear what he said and then talk to you about what you said. Here it is.
Are you happy that you made that endorsement in 2020? Are you happy with the state of America?
Am I happy with the state of America right now? Well, that answer is no. Do I believe we're going to get better? I believe in that. I'm an optimistic guy, and I believe we can get better. The endorsement that I made years ago with Biden was one I thought was the best decision for me at that time. And I thought back then, when we talk about, hey, I'm in this position where I have some influence, and it's my job then. I felt like that then. It's my job now to exercise my influence and share with this is who I'm going to endorse. Am I going to do that again this year? That answer is no.
Okay, so they were asking if he's going to endorse. He said, "Are you happy with the endorsement you made in 2020?" And that was Joe Biden. He said he's not going to endorse. And by saying that, he's saying, people are saying, "Well, he didn't say he wasn't going to vote or whatever." But basically, that's kind of what he's saying. And you got some shit for what you said. What did you say? And tell me what happened. What's your response?
I thought his response was really cowardly, and I love The Rock. In fact, if I had to pick a celebrity for the future that would probably could be president, it would probably be him. Because who hates The Rock? Like, he's one of the most likable people universally that we have in this country in that kind of position. And maybe and listen, I'm not trying to be unfair to him, but I need people to understand the stakes. The stakes are actually higher than they were in 2020. They're higher. Okay, right now, because of what you mentioned with Project 25 and all these things. And to me, while I don't need you to, go to the White House and put on fundraisers, I don't need you to do that. But when you say, "Oh, I'm not endorsing," the implication is that both candidates are the same. Both candidates are not the same. And even if the implication is, "Oh, I don't want to endorse because maybe I am still voting for Joe Biden, but I don't want to make it seem like I'm voting for Joe Biden," then you're basically sounding the rallying cry, particularly since you're letting this be known on Fox News. You're letting it be known that there is, in some way, some insinuation of some kind of support for Donald Trump. That might not have been what you meant, but considering where you're saying it and who you're saying it to,
That's what they heard.
That's what they heard.
That's what they heard.
And so there's nothing about Donald Trump that has changed since 2020. Nothing.
Okay.
In fact, he's worse. He's worse than he was then.
It's worse. Watch. He needs to, in order to stay out of prison or face any consequences, right, for those 34 criminal charges and what's to come down the line, right, possibly if he doesn't gain the White House, get the White House back. The state ones he cannot make go away. The federal ones, he can just say, I'm out of here. I'm done. You can't charge me. I'm pardoning myself, or whatever he can do. But the state ones he can't make go away. But they're going to have to be put on hold until after he's president. And then who's going to really care, right? So I think that's what they heard. I do think that you're right that he's worse. And in order to stay out of jail or whatever, he's going to just go Looney Tunes and say the craziest shit and do the craziest things. And then if he gets in there, he's going to retaliate. That's all I have to say.
Well, I mean, and what's so bothersome about all of this is, like, I know, and you were at CNN at the time, like, I'm sure CNN was, no, I'm not sure I know, they were among a bundle of networks facing a lot of criticism for sort of glamorizing Donald Trump's insanity for ratings, right? Like, yes, he's saying something insane, but like, he's Donald Trump. Of course he's saying something insane. It's like a weird test where it's like, he can't say anything insane enough because he's always going to get the out clause. Like, yeah, what do you expect? He's insane, right? So I feel like the same thing is happening, but worse, in the sense of like the media not covering him at all. I wouldn't say not covering him. Of course, they're covering the trial. They're covering the outcomes of this. But I think most of America, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, Don, is not aware of a lot of the things he's saying at these rallies. No. Because there has been a particularly unfair obsession with Joe Biden's age. He's old. They're both old. This is not new information. But the way Donald Trump sounds in these rallies and when he's speaking is totally unhinged. And it is abnormal, and we're treating it like it's normal, which is why it doesn't seem to be that bad to people. And so that's where I get back to this with The Rock, is that you're making it seem like somehow what has occurred in the last 4 years, that there's some kind of equivalence that's here, and it's not. It's like you have one candidate who is facing more felony charges than the most successful mob organization of all time, all right, by himself. And you're telling me that it's so painful for you to say you're voting for Joe Biden versus that can't be the case, right? And so to me, it's, I know people don't want to hear this sometimes. It's two choices. It's Donald Trump and it's Joe Biden. That's
That's
who's
it.
on the ballot.
That's
That's
it.
what we got. You stay home, you're voting for Donald Trump. You vote
Yep.
independent, you're voting for Donald Trump. So
Yeah.
this is what we got, kids. This is the ball game.
Don't
it's
think
like,
I don't see
I
you
don't
guys
think people understand.
Don't think I see you guys in the comments saying Jill Stein for president. Come on now, we had that with
She's
Bernie.
not going to win. Again, you might as well light your vote on fire because none of that is happening. Okay, it's like it's two choices, one or the other.
Do you think that The Rock is? Remember when Michael Jordan said, allegedly, you can tell me you know this if he said it's right, that Republicans buy sneakers too or tennis shoes too, so they didn't want to take a political
playing a little
stance.
bit of that game? I don't think The Rock ever had to worry about that because he was so universally loved. To me, when you go out of the way to say what you're not doing, you're actually kind of saying what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like nobody was sitting around clamoring to hear The Rock's opinion about who he was voting for. I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve to share that or that he has no right to share that. But what I am saying is that he's making a statement in itself by saying this. And so if you're making this statement,
right,
it's like, why?
Yeah, right. You may as well go all the way and just say how you really
just
feel.
Go all the way and just say, I'm not voting for Joe Biden or I'm voting for Donald Trump.
Right.
Yeah.
Like when I interviewed Elon Musk and he says, well, I'm not just endorsing it. I'm leaning away from Joe Biden. It's like, okay, well, what is that? We know what that means, right?
That means you're not voting for him. Just say it. Like, okay, say it with your whole chest if you believe it. And see, that's the other thing I've said to certain people that I know that voted for Donald Trump. If you're so proud of your vote, why is it such a secret?
Yeah. Right.
Like,
that's
notice,
true.
why is it such a secret? Like, if you really believe that you're making a great decision, if you're somebody who's known that, people want to listen to, respect, whatever category you want to put it in. If you're somebody like The Rock, if you really plan on not voting for Joe Biden, or if you plan on voting for Donald Trump, just say it, dog. Like, what is there to be ashamed of if you really feel like you're making the proper choice for yourself, your friends, your community in this country?
Yeah. Well, I also feel like, look, if you want to stay out of politics, right? I'm pushing my hair back the wrong way. I just got to cut short. I usually push it back, and I'm like, wait a minute, it's short. So here's the thing: if you are someone and you don't want to talk about politics, right? If you're like, look, this is not for me. I'm an actor. I'm an entertainer. I don't really just say, I don't want to talk politics, or my vote is my business, and that's all.
Totally okay.
Get out there and vote your choice. As you as an American should vote, and you should be engaged, and you should be informed. That's it. That's fine, don't you think?
It is, but that's why I think he wanted to make a political statement without making a political statement.
Right.
It's why my original commentary was it's cowardly, because I'd rather you just make the statement. However uncomfortable it might make people, whatever backlash you might receive, just say it with your whole chest. Like, just be like, okay, no, I'm not voting for Joe Biden. Go ahead and say it. And then you just have to accept what comes in it, because you purposely put yourself in this conversation again on Fox News.
So let's talk about something else that I feel like, in a way, you and I are similar, that people sort of misconstrue what we're saying. I'm like,
all the time.
Are you guys listening to what I'm saying? And there's no nuance anymore, and everything is like black and white, and it's, everybody's in their corner. I thought that you have been a real champion for Caitlyn Clark, right? I thought that you've been a real champion for her. And so why aren't you getting grief for something that supposedly, or whatever you said about her and remarks that as it relates to the WNBA, Caitlyn Clark and Angel Reese?
Yes, I am getting. I got quite a bit of heat for it, but it's funny how ironic the heat I got for it versus where the conversation is now. So the LA Times interviewed me, maybe last month it was, and they were doing a long form piece about explaining the phenomenon of Caitlyn Clark and all of what it means, particularly what it means in a league that is 70% Black women. And so I was just asked to sort of explain, like, why has Caitlyn Clark become such a phenomenon? And I broke it down very easily. I said, well, she's playing a modern style. She reminds people of Steph Curry. The 3-point shot is probably, and you could argue, is more, people are more engaged with that than they are the dunk, which we never thought we would see. But hell, look at the All-Star week, NBA All-Star weekend. Most people now look forward to the 3-point contest more so than they look forward to the dunk contest, right? Because that's where the game is,
That's me.
right? See, exactly. So that's where the game is. So she's playing in a style that's very much speaks to today. She's also white, she's straight, and she's from Iowa. And everybody lost their minds over the last 3 parts and did not pay attention to the fact that, oh, I also mentioned the fact that she had broken a lot of records. Obviously very talented, one of the greatest women's college women's players, I will say, that we've ever seen. Talent, whiteness, sexuality, region. I mean, I didn't think that was really all that controversial, Don. When we talk about why people have widespread appeal, part of it is because people can see a little bit of something they like in that person.
Right.
I'm
So right, like where she's from, like it's sort of, it's like it's what
it's
people call
representing the Midwest.
the Midwest, or like, and what people
Yes.
call or like to refer to as real America, but all of America is real America,
Correct.
right? She's cute. She, you were talking about being overrepresented in entertainment, but I'm not so sure. I think, a lot of that is talent, because I see a lot of people who are not as talented, and I'll see like this Black person singing in the church choir, and I'm like, why aren't you selling millions of albums? And it's because they're not cute, in the
Or
way that people think. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Go
look,
on,
when
yeah.
you know this, when marketers, when they're thinking about what will appeal to the public, when brands are trying to get behind certain people or there are certain pushes by certain entities, they're looking at all of these factors. They're looking at who's your audience, who do you appeal to, who will like you, are you likable, all of these things. And Caitlyn Clark also, which is unlike how we've seen most of the WNBA, it's a very outspoken league. It was WNBA players who were kneeling before Colin Kaepernick did. It was WNBA players who helped change an entire election in Georgia. They have always fought for equity. They've always fought for equality. They've always been very outspoken. Caitlyn Clark has said nothing. And
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of people, they love that because it was sort of what Michael Jordan had going for him too. Before he said that comment about the shoes, and by the way, the comment, I'm not saying he didn't say it, but it was secondhand reported. It wasn't that Michael Jordan was caught on some microphone saying this, but it came out over, it was an oral history type of story that was told about him. But before that, you didn't know what Michael Jordan believed in. You had no idea. But that's part of what made him popular, because people could sort of imagine what he might believe, or whatever they believe, they could think that Michael Jordan believed that too. And it was part of the charm and the allure. And Caitlyn Clark has the same qualities. So
Yeah.
I didn't say she's only popular because she's white, but her being white is part of her, is a component of her popularity.
Of a mass appeal that she has, which is a compliment. She's the it girl. Okay. But why is that bad?
And that's not bad. And just in this, like Angel Reese, same thing. Angel Reese, and this is where it gets interesting in discussing the two fan bases, because they are very different. And what happens is sometimes when you have different fan bases like they have, and this is why I compared it to Magic Johnson and Larry Bird when they got into the league, is that they give more weight to one fan base over the other. It's by no magic or no surprise that a lot of Black people really rock with Angel Reese, especially a lot of Black women. They see a lot of her in themselves, and vice versa, because she's outspoken, she's unapologetic, she's fashionable. Look, they don't, now, Don, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but they don't invite people to the Met Gala who they don't think have cultural touchstones or cultural credibility. Angel Reese was at the Met Gala. Angel Reese announced her decision to go to the WNBA in Vogue, because Angel Reese has she's a culture mover.
Right.
That is what she does. She has well over 1 million followers more than Caitlyn Clark does on Instagram, because of the way she moves culture. So she's a part of this story too. And people may not like to hear it, but that is what it is.
You're speaking facts, because I see a lot of people who do what you and I do, right? And they have, they have much more of a following, right? Or let's see, and they don't have as much cultural relevance, if you know what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
let's see. Outer Marker says Outer Marker calls it the Elvis effect. And Monica Wisdom calls it, he said, it is the Taylor Swift effect. Do you agree with that?
Well, maybe the Taylor Swift one. I mean, I understand what people mean by that because, of course, they're thinking about the fact that Taylor Swift has won so many, record or album of the years. Beyonce's never won one, and I know there's that juxtaposition of their careers, and they're the two most probably dominant female pop artists on earth right now. Are those two? Um, there's real talent there. This is not, and as it was with Elvis. I mean, the Elvis thing is like, oh, he stole the secret sauce from the Black community, made it more marketable because he was in a white package. Caitlyn Clark is not stealing. She's not culturally appropriating anything.
No.
Like she,
And
in
she's
her
just
own right,
good.
she's just very good. Like she's an excellent player who is finding out at this next level that there's a reason the WNBA is the best women's basketball league on the planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Olympic women's basketball team has won 7 straight gold medals because they all came from this league, right?
Right.
That's part of it. And so there's a natural learning curve for her. And where I feel empathy for Caitlyn Clark is that she didn't ask for any of this. She didn't ask to be weaponized against the WNBA, in particular, weaponized against Black women. She didn't ask to be a champion for MAGA folks who didn't give a shit about women's basketball 2 years ago. She didn't ask for any of that, right? She didn't ask for Nikki Haley to be jumping in off the top rope, talking about she deserves to be a part of the Olympic team. And
Lord.
Nikki Haley ain't probably ever watched a basketball game, or at least anytime recently, I should say. She did not ask to be held up as their bat signal. And yet here we are. And so right now, there's a lot of very layered, nuanced conversations taking place that we don't always do well with. There are people chiming in about the WNBA who have never really paid attention to this league, and it's made it quite a chaotic discourse, Don, as you might imagine.
Yeah. Well, I think here's what I like about it. I like that they're getting attention. I like the little of the controversy. I like that they're being, they're athletes, they're aggressive. It's a contact sport. And so now I want to watch, right? I want to go. And that's what it's all about, right? It's getting butts in the seats, eyes on the TV, and getting the women players to get the pay right up, to get the revenue coming in, get their pay up so that they don't have to end up going overseas to Russia to supplement their income. You know what I'm saying? And that they get the recognition that they deserve. Because look, I got in trouble for trying to explain to people like what people are saying. People think I believe something because I'm analyzing it. When I said, I'll be in a bar and people like, there'll be a women's basketball game or something. They'll go, turn the channel. I'm not saying that. I'm just observing that. But but people aren't doing that shit now because they want to see the ladies because the ladies are bringing it. And I think that's great.
No, it is great that she has been able to bring so many more eyeballs. I mean, the only thing I can
Angel
compare
too.
to, and Angel as well, like both of them have. Angel's jersey is sold out. Like she's a phenomenon in her own right. But the level of attention the league has received, this is probably the most it's received in a sustained period since when the league first started. You go back looking at the ratings when the league first started, they were ridiculous. The first couple of years, and then it kind of petered off, came back. In the last 4 or 5 years, it has been on the uptick, and she has just taken the baton and just run full force with it. Caitlyn Clark and Angel Reese, that is.
Well, let me just say this. There ain't nothing that the ladies can do compared to the NBA. Like I say, there is nothing that the Biden administration can do compared to Donald Trump. I mean, I'm talking about bad things, right?
Okay.
Because you know what I'm saying? So, this little controversy about this person fighting and that person, it's like, okay, but look at all the drama that we've gone through with the NBA. All right,
it's been a lot.
Yeah. So
but Don, though, but this is where
that's a double standard.
This is where that kicks in, because like you mentioned, like the eyeballs and the attention are good. The double standard in which the conversation is being applied is not, because the same behavior that is marketed, celebrated, encouraged in men's sports
Yeah.
It's not what's happening now.
You
Now
just
everybody
said
with
what
the
I meant more articulately than I said it. So say it, please, Jamel.
no, it's like with the women, everybody's clutching their pearls. Like, why are they so physical?
Yes, yes,
Oh my
yes.
God!
They're
It's like they
fighting.
have
Oh, it's a
yes,
foul. I'm like,
right?
okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
look,
Good.
the
Yeah. I
hard
want to watch.
the hard foul that that was put on Caitlyn Clark by Kennedy Carter from Chicago was out of bounds. It is not a basketball play, but it happens in basketball. It's happened plenty of times in the men's game. I mean, if you grew up like me watching basketball in the 80s and 90s where you were literally getting clothesline on the way to the ball, I mean on the way to the hoop, like people celebrated that. The number one of the complaints I commonly hear from NBA fans is that the game is too soft. The
Right.
players are too friendly. Blah 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 blah. But when it comes to the women, it's like they want them all in the circle, braid their hair. It's like I don't understand. Like why the shift? Why the change up? Like this is what y'all love in men's sports, but y'all see it in women's sports, and everybody
Yeah.
want to go and like clutch their imaginary pearls.
Yeah. I mean, they've been talking about maybe they should lower the rim so that people can dunk. And it's just, now they're doing this is like, and now you're getting criticism. Let the women play, let them do their thing. And you sit back and watch the game and enjoy it. And everybody sit back and analyze it and just, do your thing. Don't have, a different set of standards for the women as you do for the men. That's all I got to say. Delicious. I'm through.
No, but I mean, and then the thing is that what fans are discovering, which is a treat, is that they are discovering what I would call the less harmful drama, right? It's like the drama of like between players, they finding out there's certain relationships that have happened on teams, and there's certain exes playing for other teams. Like it's a whole we could do a whole breakdown of like some of the relationship drama that takes place in the WNBA. It'd be hilarious.
I was watching Jamel, I was watching this podcast. It was a conservative podcast, and they were saying, "Oh, this is not going to last. I mean, it's a flash in the pan. After the new car smell wears off, or you know what I mean. That
Yeah.
of this, it's going to go back to the way that it was. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't. And if you recall, when the height of Caitlyn mania was happening in college, everybody was like, "It's never going to translate to the WNBA." Have you seen the attendance? Have you seen what the ratings have been? It is absolutely translating to the WNBA. Listen, in America, we like journeys, we like stories, particularly when it comes to athletes. People want to see if Caitlyn Clark can complete the mission. They want to see if Angel Reese can complete the mission. They want to see, are these two women going to ever meet for something at stake like they did in college? Imagine an Angel Reese, Caitlyn Clark. Well, they're both on the same. Well, yeah, I was like, they're both in the same conference. A WNBA final featuring both of them. Imagine them fighting for the playoffs, both of them. Like, we want to see this story where it ends. Like right now, we're just at the beginning of it. And I think the people that feel like this wave is going to peter out are wrong, because now the world and the country has been introduced to something that they didn't know was great that existed. And so there are going to be some awkward bumps in the road just in the conversation, because now, and it hasn't been with the best results, but now some of my male sports colleagues are having to talk about a women's league, and they have not all done well. But I'm hoping we will get there. I'm hoping
They'll
we'll
get there. They'll get there. Give them a little leeway. Give them a little leeway. They'll get there.
I don't know how much I can give them, but what I will say is that as they more regularly talk about the product and not the drama, I think we'll see a shift. But no, this isn't going anywhere. I think this is going to be completely sustainable. And guess what? There are more stars coming, because there's a young lady at USC right now who'll be in the Big Ten next year, because the part of the Pac-12 dissolved into the Big 12, into the Big Ten, because you have USC and UCLA going there. And she is about to be the next big star. She's already a star, but a really big national star in Juju Watkins. And she's just a freshman. Her game reminds me so much of Carmelo Anthony. Caitlyn Clark's freshman scoring record, she obliterated by about 200 points. So
wow,
you have another one coming, and not to mention the crop of next year's rookies looks damn good. You have a South Carolina team that is still undefeated, that is going to be going for another title. And she has a team, Dawn Staley just won with a team people didn't expect her to win with. And now she's going to see if she could go back to back. That all sounds like pretty juicy run-up storytelling for women's college basketball leading into the WNBA.
A contributing writer for The Atlantic, the host of Jamele Hill is Unbothered, the podcast, and a co-founder of the Lodge Freeway Media, Is that where we can find you? Your podcast, Unbothered, Jamele Hill is Unbothered, right?
Yes, it is available. By the way, I used to be just exclusive to Spotify. It's available on all platforms where you get your podcast. You can also go to my YouTube page because I have wonderful, I videoed, a lot of the interviews were videoed. And so now I'm able to release the full video versions of the podcast. And you were once a wonderful guest on the podcast, dropping it, keeping it real, talking about you smoking weed in the Porsche. I remember, Don. I remember. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Y'all
No, you can. No, ain't no shame in my game.
I know.
Well,
listen, real, Don. That's why people love you.
Thank you, and that's why people love you as well. Now, is this vacation hair?
No, this is I just have it down. That's all. But like I've had blonde braids I've gotten progressively blonder since the pandemic.
No,
I started off
it.
with a little mixed hue, a little lighted, like a little dark and light. But now it's like, I'm just gonna live my blonde girl moment.
No, I know because my nieces, like when it's time for vacation, they do the long, and the blonde.
Oh, the long, yeah.
Oh my gosh, they do the braids, yeah. So I didn't know. I know that you always wear braids. Come on,
Yeah.
I know that. Okay.
Yeah, vacation season starts next month.
Yes.
I got some good trips planned.
All right. So this is look, guys, go and subscribe to her podcast. Make sure you watch, and when you hit the thumbs up, right? It's really important for that. Make sure you hit the thumbs up before you leave today. Make sure you subscribe. We're on our way to 200,000 subscribers in like less than 2 months. Can you believe that, Jamele? So
I
2 months.
I can totally believe this because
can.
you're you.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you.
Okay.
So I'm going to say what Winky Campbell just said in the comments, and I'm going to leave you guys. 3 snaps and a Z formation. I love you, Jamele.
All right.
See you
take
next
care,
time.
Don.
Bye.
All right, bye.